The second black tea that I've looked at this week, but they're different. They're from different countries. One from India, this one from China. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I expect different things because of origin, because of the way that the differences in processing between the two leaves. So I've got out my spoon here. I'm going to scoop out. It's a fairly tight, compact little needle as far as the shape and size of these leaves. So I'm going to scoop out enough. That's not quite enough to really coat the bottom inch and a half of my gaiwan. That's getting close. Just a pinch more should do it. That looks good. That will. The way that would do this, I mean, that kind of volume of leaf is going to give you a pretty intense, full range of tastes and aromas to really draw out character's body as well. It's going to be something that you can steep more than once as well. So that's something to consider when you're looking at teas. Don't just steep it once and toss it out. Let me get this water out of the way. Water's been brought to a boil and it's been sitting there allowed to cool for just less than a minute. Well, less than a minute and a half, I should say. So it still had plenty of heat on it. Now, talking about this tea. This is from ChinaChaDao. This is their GoldDancong Black. Now, dancong is usually a tea that a leaf that is usually used to make an oolong. This particular one was used for the purpose of and was used to make a black tea. You can find 100 grams on ChinaChaDao's eBay website, $26.99. So that's we're talking about $27. This is from the traditional location of dancong. This particular type of dancong, the Fenghuang Mountain, Phoenix Mountain, in the Chaozhou area, which is the city or village area that's closest to. This is a 2011 harvest, this year's harvest, although there aren't any specific harvest months or dates available at this point. Now, I'm going to talk about this tea, give it a smell, mention a little bit about the leaf already, but say a little bit more if necessary. First thing I'm just really getting off, it hits pretty strong, it hits pretty heavily, and that is a smell of cocoa powder. There's something kind of chocolatey coming off of this. Maybe a little bit of, if there is a fruity aspect, it's a little bit of kind of a green, sour plum type smell, a little bit of a plummy aspect there. And these leaves themselves, actually I'm going to use a spoon to do this, scoop out enough. They're fairly tight, compact as far as tightly wound needles. Length aspect, I would say a lot of these are an inch or so, half an inch maybe at the minimum, up to a little bit over an inch and a quarter maybe. Like I said, tightly wound filaments, wound along the length of the leaf so that they go down, wrapped inwards towards the middle vein of the leaf. They are a deep, rich, kind of a rich, that characteristic black tea type of color, a bister, that kind of grayish or deep gray over towards a brown type color. So those are the main characteristics of the dry leaf. Talk a little bit more and be able to look at those a little bit more closely as they've steeped and opened up some, and as we can look at them in the wet leaf. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to pour now. And to do that, I'm going to angle my lid over to the side a little bit. And I'm going to get ready to pour here. Just like that. Get those last few drops out. Looks good. Set that aside. Talk about that color in just a moment, but for now, let me kind of talk about these wet leaves and the smell here as well. Still, that cocoa powder, that chocolatey smell is the dominant smell coming out. So lots of consistency as far as the dry leaf and the wet leaf here. And again, that's dominant. There's a sweetness there, maybe a little bit of a brown sugar type sweetness. coming out, a little bit of maybe even molasses sweetness coming out there. Looking at these leaves here, let me pull out, here's one that has unfurled, a little portion of leaf stuck to it though, but a nice, small, delicate looking leaf there. Got a bit of thickness to it, more so than say a green, the average green tea leaf of the same size. You can notice it is closer to a more of a little bit of olive drab or chocolatey type color there, milk chocolate type color. Another leaf with a little bit of stem coming off of it at the bottom there. Clean cut, straight cut there. Not a ragged, not a jagged edge like you might see if it were snapped or broken off rather than clipped by hand. That looks, yes. Let me go ahead and pull out, let's see if there's anything else to find. Another leaf that is not fully unfurled, that's not unwound. That bodes well. These leaves are going to loosen up and open up more later on. I'm looking for anything that looks close to a tip or a needle, because I don't really see a dominant aspect as far as, that's a very long one, so I'll put that one there as well. But not a lot that I see that just looks like the very tip or the needle there. This one this one's a very small young leaf. May not necessarily be the actual very tip or needle there. It's not fuzzy like a lot of tips or needles are. So various sizes, various levels of which they've wrapped or unfurled. So now I'm going to go on here and talk a little bit about the liquor. Give that a swirl for just a moment. Deep, rich, deep colors. I mean, this is reddish purple. This is getting deep, nice and heavy as far as that darkness goes there. Bright and clear in that color, not flat, murky looking. As I pour here, yeah, good color through that as well. A little bit, just a hint of kind of like a red grape type sweetness coming off. Yeah, as I swirl it a little bit more, some of that cocoa powder is coming out as well. So I'm going to go ahead now to the taste here. There are characteristics here that remind me of that you can find in Keemans here, which are another famous, fairly well-known black tea from China. There's a nice sweetness there. This one, not unlike, say, a Kenyan black, an Indian black, that may have a keen, astringent bite to it. These are more known for a mellower texture and feel in the mouth and tongue, so that it becomes more of a sweeter aspect to it, and more like a more syrupy type feel. So that's a dominant component. So yeah, I still feel like there's that cocoa powder there. Maybe a little bit of a molasses type or sorghum type of aspect to it there. Sorghum sweetness there. Aftertaste still builds a lot of a sweet type of feel. Any kind of light, astringent, a light dryness, kind of a powdery dryness sets up in the back in the aftertaste. Kind of, it works from the back of the tongue, and I can feel it almost creeping forward towards the front of my tongue. So I would give this tea, it's got some good components to it. It's got some worthwhile components to it. That texture, that aftertaste really stay well in the range of being sweet, that doesn't become overly astringent, or it doesn't get harsh in a bite. It doesn't. It gets a little bit syrupy type feel as far as having just swallowed syrup, and you're kind of smacking your mouth around trying to get like there's too much that's stuck there, and you're just trying to smack the rest of it off. So score-wise, I would say that this one gets a 91. Aromas are there, a taste, but again, don't ever let an aroma, a taste carry the whole tea. It's got to have more than that. It's got to have some body. It's got to have aftertaste to fill it out. And this one has those aspects with some chocolatey component in that original that front taste and aroma there. So come back to Walker Tea Review to get to explore that full range of the tea, the front, the back, the aftertaste, the texture.